Live now on the very first Snack and Learn of the week. And I have one of the most high energy people I know with me today. So you really want to stick around for this, whether you're hitting it live or you're hitting it on the replay. My Snack and Learn today is with Edna Valentino. Now, I'm going to read you the official bio, but then I'm going to tell you my Edna story. Real I'll let her say hi first, but then I'll tell you my Edna story somewhere in here. But Edna was a television producer until she did a bodybuilding competition that changed her life. She felt so empowered on the stage that she wanted women everywhere to feel that good. So she became a personal trainer and then a life coach, which is where our paths crossed, to help women work on the mindset game behind their struggles. She created recently the Jumpstart program, which I just finished up and I can't wait to tell you about, a 30-day group coaching program that focuses on 6 key elements to get women started in the right direction towards their health and mindset. And something I'll be dropping across the banner later, you can also join her free Jumpstart Facebook group and get even more stuff. Actually, I think it's a Facebook page. She's also a Tedx speaker and the creator of the Badass series, which we're going to talk about. I can't wait to ask questions about that, which is a show on YouTube that showcases how women triumph over the struggles and fears to reach success. On top of all that, Edna is an awesome human, and she is in this world to serve. And that's how I first came across you, Edna. Before I go into that story, welcome to Snack and Learn.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you.
Too. So I just have to tell this quick story because I used to go to a gym here locally in the Yardley area, and I actually found Edna through a magazine at the hairdresser at that gym. I picked up, I'm not even sure if you know this or not, but I picked up this magazine and there was this, I had never heard of life coaching before. I didn't even know what it was. This is, gosh, we're probably 10 years ago now, Edna. And I'm reading about this thing called life coaching. But most important was like how Edna her personality came through this story and was talking about how it's always really individually based and there's a lot of sort of prescriptive stuff people do. And I'd never heard of life coaching. It had her phone number and I said, what the heck, I'm going to call. And from the minute I started talking to you, Edna, I knew you were the right person for me. I was kind of starting to get stuck in my career a little bit. And I just started dealing with moving forward on some health stuff. You made a huge change in my life. So we've known each other for a while, folks, but Edna's magic has just gotten bigger and brighter since then.
Oh my gosh, you are so kind. I will thank you so much for saying that. What I will tell everybody else who's watching to take that a step further was, first of all, I was a newer coach. So I've only been a coach we're in 2021, so probably 10 years now, 11 maybe. And Pam was one of my first clients, and I had this perfect stranger reach out to me, and she said she saw, I think I had coached the editor of Philly Fit magazine, maybe.
Okay, that sounds like it. Yep.
Yes. And so I'm like, oh my God, it worked. Somebody called me, I'm like, this works. And so I was working with Pam and I'm like, oh my God, she's a chief financial officer. Like, what am I going to help her with? And I was like, and I connected with you on such a level that I'm like, we're just going to dance. We're just going to help each other out here. And the trust that you had in me and the confidence I had in you, because I knew you were a badass then. And here's how, and then it was proven. I will say this, because we worked together for at least like 6 months in the beginning. It was right? Like it was at least.
It might have even been longer than that.
It might have even been longer, maybe 9 months. Yeah. And Pam had set out a goal, and I'll never forget this story because this was the power of changing your mindset. Pam had made a decision for herself. And I remember one day you had an injured knee, right? I think you had knee surgery and you were trying and you were working with weight and exercise. And with my personal training background, we opened the doors that way, right? But you were seeing your own trainer. We were a distance, we were probably an hour apart where we lived. And you set the goal. And I said, one day I asked you this question, Pam, I'll never forget. And I said, what is it you really want to do?
That changed everything. That question changed everything for me on that journey.
And I recommend, I still ask that question today because you proved that it was powerful. Like, because if you say, what is it I really want to do when we're struggling, it's like, bleh, and it like, it comes out of your mouth and you said, I really want to play a basketball game. I want to go play basketball again on a court, like with 5 people on each side. And I said, then that's what we're going to do.
And I'll tell you what, at the time you said that, that was so far from something I had conceived of at the time you said it. I just want to interject that.
Yeah, well, and usually it is when we want something that we don't have it manifested in our life right now. It's usually way far away out there. But when you can add that support, and we had that relationship every single week, and you were setting things up in your work environment, in your home environment, in your social life environment, all of that helped lift you. And the day she told me she scheduled the basketball game at her gym with people from her work, I drove an hour to get to this game. And I remember, I don't even know what happened. I think schedule wise, I missed the actual game, but I was able to give you a hug and meet you in person for the first time. And there were all these people, and you went big, girl. You had dinner for everybody, and it was just like
30 people and dinner. And I don't think we won the game, but it didn't matter. I played and it didn't hurt. And I had dropped, I don't know, I think 40 pounds or 50 pounds at that point. And it was amazing. And it was that question. And that was what was so cool. There are a couple things I want to dive in on here. Is you just hit on something I think so many of us struggle with. Like you heard CFO, saw me at Newtown Athletic Club, blah, blah, blah. What am I doing? You had that burst of imposter syndrome that we all get. And yet you came to the table or to that call. I never knew until right now that was the case. Yeah. So sometimes folk, and it's not fake it till you make it. That's not the right term. It's believe in yourself. Because Edna made a huge difference. If she had said, instead of, yep, I'm going to take that call and I'm going to blow this away. If Edna had said, oh my God, I can't do this. This is the first client. This is way too big for me. I can't do this. Before even having met me and realized I was the perfect client for her, I would have never gotten all of that happened to me as a result of it. And that's where, folks, the lesson is in this. It's like push past that awful, stupid, frustrating imposter syndrome.
Yes. And you know what? The same thing happened with a guest from QVC who was a millionaire. And I remember making up the story, and she called me and I was like, oh my God. Like, I remember where I was at that phone call, this woman who's doing so well in her life and financially. And those were my money issues that I was imposing. I'm like, what does this woman who's so wealthy want from me? And she wanted weight loss. She said, I've got everything else. Everything's good. I cannot work this weight loss. And I understand how you work with people, and I want you to coach me. And I was like, well, hot damn, this girl believes in me. I'm going to try that.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And it's a partnership in coaching. And I will venture to guess, anybody who coaches anybody in your group or, watching this, if you go into that relationship with a client knowing that you're going to gain something too, and you're going to learn something maybe about yourself or about life, it becomes that like discovery, like we're going to link arms and we're going to figure it out together. And it becomes beautiful. It's like a real relationship. And so I just have realized, when we tend to attract, like attracts like too. I mean, you are a tough cookie. Like, you're out there wanting the same things I wanted. Like, I want to go bigger. I want to play bigger, but gosh, I'm being a little bit small. So we kind of attracted each other and helped each other grow,
I agree. I agree completely. And the thing that's so important in that is exactly that, because it's funny, until recently, I thought of, I think of myself as a CFO for my clients, et cetera, but that coaching element is in it as well. It's in whatever we're helping people work with, if we're doing it in the way that we do it, because there's so much that I learn every time I take on a new client, whether it's how somebody emotionally reacts to money, or whether it's, a new type of tax treatment that we're going to try, or whatever it might be. There's always something that I learn in addition to them getting the benefit of the stuff that's just like, for you, weight loss and exercising and figuring out how to make that work for an individual is something that just comes naturally to you. So you can then get past just that and also provide so much beyond that in the coaching realm. And that's what I love about what you do. So we reconnected recently because you've started this Jumpstart program.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about that because it's a really accessible, and yet the neat thing about it is the way you're approaching it. So I'd like for you to talk a minute about the Jumpstart program, because folks, this is there's a free Facebook group actually where a lot of this is happening. But I'd like you to talk a little bit about it, Edna, and kind of what you've experienced as you've run the actual program a few times.
Sure. And honestly, again, I have run this program. I think we just did the 4th time since August, and I'll probably do a 5th time. And here's what happened. I used to do this Jumpstart program. It was called the Jumpstart program, one-on-one, when I was working in a gym. I'm not a trainer now in a gym, but I still have that knowledge and keep my feet wet in there. And I often coach people in that space. So the Jumpstart program was kind of the feedback that I was getting from clients every time they got stuck with weight loss. It was either about diet, exercise, they're not sleeping, they're hugely stressed, or some block in the mindset. And those became the 5 elements I worked with people one-on-one in my office. And then fast forward 10 years and you get, this crazy year, and I take Tony Robbins' comeback, 7-day comeback challenge. I don't know if anybody saw that. And in that week, I remember the idea of bringing the Jumpstart program to life, which I hadn't done in at least 7 years, maybe 5, but those elements were always the things I was talking to women about even now. And I thought, and I heard, I should say, Jumpstart program, Zoom, Facebook group, go.
And that's all you got, right?
It's time to fire that up, because those are still the same things people are working with in order to try to get to their goals. And so I did. And I said, I'm going to do what Tony Robbins did. He did a free 7-day. I'll do a free 30-day. And I offered it free at first. And I had all these women who were like, me, and part of it was, Pam, that during the pandemic, I fell off the wagon. And in the beginning, I thought it was going to be 2 weeks. And then I was like,
okay, so hard for me to believe. That's amazing. Like I know.
But you know what? The reason why I think most people find me relatable is because I am you.
Bingo.
Whether I have a ton of weight to lose or not, whether I'm eating the things you are or not, whether I'm sleeping in the way you are, under the same stressors, at the end of the day, I have slipped. And whether you've gained 5 or 55 or 105 pounds, if it's too much for you, you feel in your skin. Like, right? You don't have the confidence. You don't want to take risks. You want to hide. I know those feelings. And because I feel that way now, when you tell me you feel that way, I'm like, gotcha, girl. Let's get back on track. Now, I don't let it get out of control, because I also know what my wiggle room is for how far I let myself go. But in June last year, I was like, and I remember hearing myself talk to my husband, like, I feel so blah, my butt is big, excuse me, but that was the truth. I was like not fitting in my clothes. The gyms are closed. I'm done walking 1,000 times in my neighborhood. And then when I was able to, I am you. Yes, exactly. So great, actually. So is that another Valentino?
Valentino Ashley, yeah.
Or is that the first name?
That's his first name.
Oh, how funny is that? Yeah. Awesome. That's so great.
We have Valentino today.
I know. That's awesome. Hi. So I ended up feeling so low that I was like, something's got to change. And in that comeback challenge, I hired my friend as a personal trainer. I said, just kick my butt for a couple days. I got it going, and start the Jumpstart program. Start giving, start serving, get out there and go help the other women just like you. And then here we are, ready I'll start the 5th one soon.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, and we've got a question here for you that I'm going to pop up too.
Sure.
From Valentino. Yeah. Yep. So how does somebody with more intense emotional responses deal with competing with all the balance that we need to have in order to be entrepreneurs? Because one of the things, like we were just talking about this earlier, it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole. Like there's so much to get done. In fact, today I had to do something really simple, which was literally set up a new calendar link. But it ended up taking an hour and a half because you have to create the emails to follow up. You have to test it. You have to make sure that the times are right. You have to make sure the calendar of it. All of a sudden, every little thing for us becomes this massive thing. And then what I find, and tell me if this happens to you, that when I start down a path, I'll think there'll be one thing I have to do, like say it's create an email. And I'll go, oh, I think somewhere I saw somebody who has great copy for this email. And then I'll go look online for whoever that was. And then I'll find that person and I'll find like 8 other things and then go down that. Like all of a sudden I circle back 2 hours later and nothing's happened. How do we keep balance in all that? What's a good tip that we can share with the group on getting through some of that stuff?
Yes. And I get lost in newsletters that I signed up for that I know I'm not going to read, but then I'm looking for that number, that email, and there's the newsletter. Let me see what they have to say.
Yes, that.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
The biggest thing is this is where you have to be intentional about your time. When and you have to set yourself up for success. So take the distractions away. One of the things that I did was not have my phone set up to ding every time I get a text message.
Mm.
Something as simple as that. Now, at first I'm like, oh my gosh, I might miss something important. And then I don't know. And then, can I tell you, Pam, and in the first day, I felt such a calmness, like more peace, but I didn't know it until I heard the ding, like it was open. And then I heard it. I'm like, oh my God, I don't hear dings anymore.
I love that.
So if you set yourself up and instead of, and I know I shared in our Facebook group how sometimes I go through the kitchen and the phone's on the island. And so I have to intentionally check my text messages and I'll grab the phone and I'll look and I'm like, oh, and then I just set myself up for failure. Like I don't need to grab it right then and there as I'm running through. I can't do anything with it anyway. So what I do is I pick the times that I want to go to my phone and read all the texts, and you can have it set up. We had a play date earlier today. The mom had texted me an hour earlier. I don't really like that. I was like, oops, sorry. I like to have access to parents when I have their children.
Yeah,
so I kept checking it and I was sending her pictures of what they were doing. So anyway, you have to set yourself up that way. The same with the emails. I don't need to sign up for every newsletter. Maybe if the website is really important or the content is, I can go to their website, right? Maybe I don't need the newsletter.
I love it.
Intentionally, or sign up for the weekly newsletter, not the daily one. Right?
So really think through these things that become just habits for us. I'm reading a book now. I think you may have told me about it, called Atomic Habits.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you told me, I'm like, somebody else just thanked me for that book. And I'm like, no, I think that was Edna who got it to me. Anyway, great book. And it talks about how we're wired and why we do things and how we really don't even think about stuff. I did something similar with my phone. I actually do a lot of work on my phone, so that's a little dangerous. But what I did was I turned off every one of those little bubble circles for every app, except the ones where my daughter can get to me. So she's set, so she can get through if she has something. I don't even let Deb through. It makes her crazy. And and the other thing that I have is a couple of VIP clients during the times they have access. I leave that open so that I can see them. And I just tell people, if you email me twice a day, I'm going to see email. If you text me or box me at my next available full hour block, I'll set aside 15 minutes to go through that. That's changed everything for me. I like it. And it was so habitual. Like you said, I didn't even notice the dings or the bubbles were making me crazy. But the bubbles were making me crazy to see 50 or 20 or 10 or 2 or 300. And I just took them all off. So there's no more notifications for me for almost anything.
Yeah, well, there is a whole brain thing going on here. Those bubbles and those dings are meant to release chemicals in the brain to say, give me more. It is like a drug. It really is. Like scientifically, they're showing that this is all psychology and it's to make you be on your phone longer than you prefer. So I'm like, I'm tougher than that. I'm going to set my own system up, right? So, and Atomic, yeah. And Atomic Habits is a great book for anybody who wants to set themselves up for success. It's again, it's the simple things that we know we have access to and that we know we can do that we're not doing. We're tolerating way too much. We're tolerating way too much.
You should know, folks, everybody listening, whether live or on replay, the prize winners for this month, most activity in the Profit Concierge Facebook group, that's one of the main prizes. We give prizes every month for the top 3, and that book is one of the main prizes in hard copy because I've loved it so much. So thank you for that, Edna.
Yes, absolutely. That is gold. I mean, I talk about that in the Jumpstart program because, you know, even if you only do one thing that helps you move. And that's the thing with the Jumpstart program too. You know,
you hit that.
And somebody was just asking the question about how do you start when everything's going crazy in your mind? You know, 2 things. One, to always start with exercise. Because if you can just move your body, physiologically, oxygen's flowing. You start maybe getting some good endorphins going. If you can get out in the sun, fantastic. It makes you happier. And if when I was a trainer in the gym, people would say, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds. And my goal wasn't to get you to lose it right out of the gate. My goal when you came in was to get you to feel good. Because if you could feel good enough, you would start. And with the Jumpstart program, the first week is exercise. So we get you to move. And you know, Pam, you had a small goal that you grew into.
Well, I'll talk about it because it really made a big difference. So one of the things that I did on this most recent Jumpstart program with Edna is, like she said, you just had to pick one thing. I'm like, well, shoot, I can do that. And I know what my overall objectives are, but I said, I'm just going to walk 10 minutes a day because anything else I was trying to do, it was too much. It was too big. I'd find reasons to avoid it. I stopped, you know, even trying. So I said, all right, I can walk 10 minutes a day. Spring is sprung. I'm going to walk past the same bush every day and take a picture of it so that we can see it move from like late winter into summer into fall. And I thought, well, that's fun. That's a little bit of a game. I like listening to podcasts. I like listening to music. Deb and I have done it together a couple times because sometimes it's ridiculous. We live in the whole house and we're buyers. I mean, it's just us and we still never catch up on like real stuff. So we have, you know, had a conversation, actual conversation while we were walking. And I mean, it's just, that's all it was. All I said was, I'm going to walk 10 minutes a day. Well, as it turned out, 4 weeks later, what I did was ultimately end up walking 20. Actually, I said 10 minutes, 3 days a week, I think is what I said.
It was every other day or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm doing 20 minutes a day now because I've really enjoyed it and it feels good. But it never occurred to me that exercise would feel good until we made just that one tweak. And that's why I love this program. And your page, which is free, folks. The page is free. And the little things that Edna will drop in there will make you go, oh, I can try that. And these little things are the game changers. It's not the big things. It's these little ones that change everything. So anyway, love that program.
Yes. And it is those,
you got to check the page out for sure.
It is the little things you do consistently that are going to become big later, you know, and my goal is always to have you set your goal small enough that you can do it, but not too big that you resist it. And that's why we do the JV goals. It's got to be small enough that you're going to do it. You can't not do the goal, right? You can't not do 10 minutes every other day.
Yeah.
And now you're at 20 minutes every day. And if I was as good at math as you are, I could tally up how many more minutes you're getting a week. An extra hour at least of walking a week is what you're doing. You're going to get to your goals faster that way. You know, but you didn't, we didn't say 20 minutes every day, Pam. You have to do 20 minutes every day. We made it smaller so you were pulled into that space. And you'll go more. You'll do a longer walk at some point.
Absolutely. This is it was the gateway drug. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Jumpstart program could start, you know, called Edna's gateway drug to health and mindset changes, because that's exactly what it kind of felt like. And I've read the books before that talk about this, and even Atomic Habits talk about it, and it's a great book. But actually having, you know, coming up with the one suggestion, and you don't let us lose sight of the long-term goal either. Like, why do you want to do this one thing? And keep in your head too. So that's been awesome. Plus the resources. So that's really, really cool. So what else are you up to these days?
Well, one of the things that came up out of the pandemic was I love women's stories. I love the story behind how you got, which I don't even know the story. So you may have to be on the interview, on the show, but I love to hear women who overcome obstacles and still get there to the, maybe not to the top of the mountain, because usually we get there and there's another mountain we want to climb.
I was going to say, yeah.
So, and that's life. Everything keeps evolving and it's expanding. I love that. And I had the idea to do a badass series, like badass women who are just afraid and doing it anyway. And I said, I'm going to do 10 women. I'm going to do a series on YouTube. Now I'm turning into like a podcast. I'm learning all of this. So, you know, kind of as I go.
Yep.
Yes, we all are. I know. I love that. And so it is hugely gratifying to really hear the stories of like, what were you really afraid of, Pam? Like, tell me what you were like as a kid and how is that showing up now? Like, what were the things you wanted to do as a kid that you still are doing, or that led you to here, or that you were bad at that led you to here, right? What was that turning point in your life that made you get on this path?
I love
and
it.
What happened along the way? And there are just, you know, I want the story that's not on LinkedIn or your website. I want people to get to know that woman. And
wow.
So that badass series was born.
Wow. And that badass series, folks, is on YouTube. No, wait, that's the wrong one. Hang on. That's the wrong one. I need to get I'm going to get a banner on that. But tell me a little bit, like, how many have you done? How frequently do you do them?
So here's the other thing that happened out of the pandemic. I let go of having like restrictions and being bound to, I have to do one every week or I have to do one every month. And I said, I'm going to do it as our schedule allows. I'm not working for anybody and I'm doing it for free because I want to. I love the speaking and interviewing, which is something that I'm looking, you know, forward to do. So maybe this is an outlet. I'm going to have fun with it. And so my first one was on a Chinese refugee who escaped Vietnam on a boat that was attacked by pirates. I'm not kidding you. That was my first.
Oh my God.
Her name is Lee Tran. When you go on my YouTube channel, Edna Valentino, you'll see them all listed on the Badass Series playlist. And Lee Tran wrote a book during the pandemic, and the stories in that book are incredible. And we met at a Toastmasters public speaking organization, again, 10 years ago. And she would give snippets of her story. And I'm like, Lee, this is a movie. Like, I can't wait to get my popcorn and watch you on the big screen. And she would laugh, and she was insecure. And she's a Tedx speaker. She wrote a book. She's speaking now. I mean, the woman has flourished, and now she's like a mentor to me.
Oh my gosh, folks, I'm going to drop the link to that particular show in the comments to each of these where we're streaming, but I'm also going to put it in a post in the Profit Concierge so that people can find it like as an announcement. So keep an eye out for that. Whether you're live or on replay, I'll leave it up there a couple of days because I know I want to go watch that. That's amazing. Yes.
And then just this week, I posted the fourth one. I have 5 and 6 scheduled to be recorded next week. The third one, the following couple weeks. So my goal is 10, and I don't know what happens after 10, but I'm really like looking for diversity. I'm looking for diversity in life experience. I'm looking for all of these that are in my network that I have access to. And what's happened as kind of a side note is people are like, can I do it? Can I get on? Here's my friend. Like, can you interview her? You know, it's just, I haven't even asked. I'm just, they like it, you know? Yeah. So it's pretty, cool. Yeah, it's pretty incredible what I'm getting into. I'm sorry.
These stories are underneath everybody. And that's why I love building this community too, is because I'm getting to know, in fact, you're coming to our campfire today. And what we do in the Snack and Learn Campfire, Profit Concierge Campfire is get to know each other because the stories underneath the faces are amazing. I was talking to somebody today and we were saying, I don't know if you moved around a lot as a kid, but I did. And like you walk into a new school and it's like all these faces. And it doesn't occur to you that there's a story behind each face. And it's kind of the same thing in Facebook land if you're just kind of looking out at the world. But once we start to talk to each other, the stories are fascinating and entertaining and they connect us. And it's all stuff that I guess I feel like I'm saying the obvious, you know, like, duh, this is what everybody says. This is what we know. But it's like finally hit me that there's something to connect with almost everybody you run into, there's a story that'll connect you.
Well, we tend to put the highlight reel right out into social media.
True.
And I do believe the people who are the most successful, like you, Pam, are the people who are raw and real and can get vulnerable sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and so I find that, you know, when you have a story and you're interviewing somebody who has that story, but you know, the one I'm thinking of, Toy Sweeney, who I just interviewed this week. I worked with her at QVC for, I think we were together for like 8 years or something like that, but not in the same department. I didn't work with her, but we knew each other, and she worked, and she has built a brand on, and Pam, this is fascinating. She works with your wardrobe for you to express the message that you want in your business. So she worked with high-level entrepreneurs who are like trying to match the wardrobe as part of your brand to reach a higher level of success. But what I didn't know about her was that her first job at QVC, she was so horrible, she actually almost got fired. And then it happened again a second time. And she was always like, but that's not my forte. I know I'm bad at that. Like, where do I go with the good stuff? And she was a fashion designer. And then she went through IVF. She had a miscarriage at 6 months old, you know, and had a horrible, and she goes into that. I'm like, I'm not going to find that out on her LinkedIn page or her website, or just passing in the hallway at work. But when you get a chance, you know, in a sense, when we get to these tough moments and you're able to, first of all, say it out loud publicly, there's growth in her. Right. Yeah. And then there's growth in the receiver of that. She's like me. She looks so successful, but I went through that. If somebody did, right? I didn't, but there's a connection there that, like, even if you go through life's struggles, you can still have this beautiful life. Yep. You know, in fact, it can propel you. And so, to me, she's a badass, you know, and my kids use that word. I don't even mind it. Somebody, at first I used to have, I used to feel funny about the word, and I'm like, this is a different definition in the dictionary. This is
glad you're owning it. Yep.
I want my kids to know them. Yes.
I'm definitely subscribing to the channel, because we're going to drop that in. These people sound fascinating. And I love that about this, because you bring that out for all of us, and we've all got the stories. They're all different, and there's no, this one's worse or this one's better or whatever. It's, everybody's got a story. And the important thing is that we know that, right? That we accept that nobody, and I mean, I say this about finances all the time. In a Zoom room full of, 50 people, I'll say, I want you right now to think about the most embarrassing money story you've got. And I pause and let people think about it. And then I say, okay, now look at that screen and know that all 49 other faces just came up with the most embarrassing money story, and every one of you thinks yours is the worst. So let's just put that on the shelf. And that's the thing. There's all of this stuff happens to all of us. It's fun to celebrate the stuff that goes well, but this other stuff can be just as important. It's what makes us richer, I think.
Yes.
Anyway, but you know what? I love the series.
Yes. And likewise, Pam, I have to say this because I think you're so good at what you do, because you don't make us feel bad about it.
Well, there's nothing to feel bad about, but yes, that's
okay. Let's throw it out the window, because everybody's the same, like having the same story, and you're like, it's okay. We can still go make the money that we want to make in our business, Yes. So I think your permission, and that's the more stories we get out there and we stop and take the mask off. And I mean, the real mask, as you were talking about imposter syndrome in the beginning, is I'm not good at everything, and I'm not everybody's coach, and I'm not everybody's trainer. And sometimes we're going to miss each other. And sometimes I'm not going to handle things right. And sometimes you're not. And sometimes we're still going to be friends afterwards. And sometimes we're not. Like, this is just life, people. Like, we got to just know that we can be all things to all people,
I love that.
We got to let that go a little bit. Yeah.
And that's somebody said to me once, and I forget who now, but it was a brilliant piece of advice, is like, zero in on who you are and how you work with people. And yes, probably 99.99999% of the world doesn't care about what you're offering, but there's going to be that group of people that you can serve. And by the way, in a world with as many people as we have, that's a heck of a lot of people, and they deserve that service from you. So go get them and be yourself, kind of unapologetically. And, somebody else said, unsubscribes are the best thing you can get, because you're narrowing your focus into the people that are really meant for your messaging and that you can help. And I really believe that now. I see an unsubscribe as something to celebrate now in my email list.
That's awesome. I hadn't
Ooh,
seen
we've
that
narrowed the
perspective.
field. Yeah, we've narrowed the field.
Yes.
So
Yes. That's great.
yeah, it's kind of cool. So, all right. So one thing you can leave us with, pick anything from the 30-day program that you've got that could be a great tip that everybody watching this today, whether live or in replay, can go do today, tomorrow, and really see something make progress. Anything, any topic.
I mean, the biggest thing, so I'll give you something physical and something mental. Number one, with the physical, you just move a little bit more than you did yesterday. I can't emphasize that enough. Nutrition is 90% of the game, but most people don't actually want to start there. When you move, you feel like eating better. So I always equate that. If you want to start with diet, please go take, here was a tip from the Jumpstart program. Add before you subtract with nutrition. Add the good food that you want to be eating before you subtract the food you want to, that's bad for you, right? Or that you don't, if you're eating too many carbs, don't say, I'm going to stop all carbs. Instead, start adding in vegetables and you'll want less carbs. You'll want less pretzels. You want less chips, right? That's my downfall, is getting my hand in the bag. So add before you subtract as far as nutrition, move your body. And the mental piece that I would tell you, and Pam, I know you're on this journey too, is the more that we can get into alignment with who we really are on this planet. And there's way more to this conversation, but the more you're going to pick the things in your life that serve you best. And the more you're going to say no to things that don't serve you and yes to things that do, even if everybody around you thinks you're crazy. So if you can find your truth, you're golden. Golden, Pam. How about that word? Gold.
That gold and amber. That's exactly right. Another long story. But here you are. So 3 things, guys. Move just a little bit more than you did yesterday. I did that, and it's made a huge difference now. I'm really enjoying going walking every day. And today's beautiful up here in the Northeast, folks. So I'm going out there today for sure. The second is, if you're trying to eat healthier, have better nutrition, don't just take away the stuff you're not supposed to eat. Add the good stuff first. And then it might be easier to take the bad stuff away because you're not going to be as hungry. And then finally, align with who you really are. Pull off the mask, be who you are, and then you're going to pick the things that serve you best. And I love what you said with this was not just you're going to pick the things that serve you best, but you're going to say no to the things you should be saying no to. And that has been huge for me. I had somebody call me the other day, and I almost didn't recognize the person that I was, because they said, hey, we'd really like you to join this particular board and do blah, blah, blah. And I said, I kind of decided that what I really love to do with not-for-profits is not fundraising. I hate everything about fundraising. I always have. So that's what they wanted. They wanted somebody to come and help fundraise. I said, my best service on a board is behind the scenes as the treasurer, doing the books, making sure you're aligned and in compliance. When it comes to fundraising, I don't like it. So thank you, but no. That felt like I felt 100 pounds lighter just doing that. 5 years ago, I'd have said yes and then been miserable. So I love the fact that you say it also teaches us how to say no to the right things, the wrong things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, don't let, when opportunity shows up, don't get sucked into being flattered and then say yes because you're flattered, because that happened to me last week where I'm sitting right now as we speak. I have to make a decision. And at first I was like, oh, look what I'm sending out into the universe. Look what showed up. And I'm like, deep down inside, I think I know it's not the right thing for me, but it was flattering, right? So, we'll see what I decide on that, but maybe I just made my decision.
That's smart. You paused. Yeah. You didn't just jump right in and say, yes, you paused. I love that. So even if you may not say no, you took a pause to say, let me make sure this is really right.
Yes.
I love it. Oh, I know who this is from. That's my friend Trish, who runs the Soldiers' Hands. And that's one of the boards that I'm on.
Oh, awesome.
Fundraising for. But she does the fundraising. I do the books. So
that's great.
Good partnership. Yeah, we've each found our
and because when we say no sometimes, somebody else has an opportunity to say yes, right? So if you say no, then somebody else gets that opportunity. Maybe they are better at it, or they're really looking for it, and you get off the hook and the right person comes into the position.
That is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump off, but Edna, can I ask you a favor to just watch the stream in here for a couple days? And if people want to ask questions, they can just jump on here and tag Edna, and
Absolutely.
we'll make sure that she gets to you to answer. If you happen to see this on my stream, Edna's a friend of mine, so you can tag her there as well, and we'll get answers to any questions you have. If you're interested in the Jumpstart program, this is where you want to go. And I dropped the link for that in the chat here, so you can get to that as well, folks. Edna, thank you so much. Thank you even more for coming to today's campfire. We're going to light it up. I can't wait.
Perfect.
And everybody else, I will see you tomorrow. And be sure and check Edna out. She is an awesome human, and I'm so blessed that our paths crossed. I'm so grateful for that magazine inside the Newtown gym, Edna.
Thank you so much. Me too. See you, Pam.
Awesome. See you later.